How to spend 14 days in Japan. Here is what you're going to see in this incredible 2-week Japan itinerary. One important thing to note is that this itinerary is optimized for seeing cherry blossoms in Harasaki, in northern Japan. If you are not visiting during the later part of the cherry blossom season, you can swap out Harasaki for another destination. I would have loved to spend more time in Osaka or Nikko, so those are great options for extending your trip. Day 1. Arrive in Tokyo. Today is about getting adjusted, about realizing, OMG, I am in Japan right now and my universe is in chaos. There's no pressure to do anything in particular besides finding your hotel or airroom, trying to order food in Japanese for the first time and experiencing. Go to Tokyo's famous robot restaurant. It's just one of those things that is so Japan, you have to see it to believe it. During this 90-minute show, robots in costumes sing and dance while you eat dinner and down Japanese beer. Book robot restaurant tickets in advance because, as weird as it sounds, this is a super popular thing to do. Enter an immersive digital art museum. This limited, interactive art show is one of the most popular things to do in Tokyo. There may not be a better place in the city for Instagram photos than this. Book tickets to the Team Lab Borderless Digital Art Museum. Children 3 years old and younger can enter free. See Tokyo by night from its tallest building, Tokyo Skytree. The last admission is at 9 p.m, and you can even buy skip-the-line tickets before you go. We didn't have skip-the-line tickets and ended up waiting almost an hour to get to the top. If you want to make it even more memorable, you can have dinner overlooking Tokyo at the Skytree's Panorama restaurant. Day 2. Take the train to Kyoto. Kyoto is considered the cultural capital of Japan. Why not? It was Japan's official capital for nearly 700 years. Here you're going to get a real taste of what traditional Japan was like by visiting shrines and temples erected hundreds of years ago. Besides architecture, Kyoto also has an incredible food scene. Here is where you can try Japan's famous multi-course meal called kaiseki. But we'll get to all that later. For now, store your stuff in a coin locker at the Kyoto train station and catch the bus or train to the Saga Arashiyama station. Getting from there to our first stop, Tenryuji, is as easy as following the flow of people. After that, we'll visit the neighboring Arashiyama bamboo forest. The final stop of the day is the super shining golden pavilion. Day 3. Enjoy the highlights of Kyoto. Today is the main day to discover Kyoto, so be sure to start early. Your most efficient path would be to start your morning at the Nishiki Market, take the bus to Gyoen, and then spend the day in East Kyoto in the Higashiyama area. After following that path and seeing tons of temples, shrines, and beautiful streets, you'll end up close to Philosopher's Path, where you can walk along the stream and enjoy some solitude. If you're set on trying all the weird food you can find in Japan, Nishiki Market is an absolute goldmine. This relatively small market hall spans several streets and offers snacks and produce which you can pick up to sample some traditional Japanese food. Here's where I tried Taco Tamago, the infamous candied baby octopus stuffed with a quail egg. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's the only place I saw it while in Japan. Day 4. Day trips to Fushimi Inari Shrine and Nara Deer Park. Imagine this, a capital city full of thousands of docile, free-ranging deer. If this sounds like your idea of paradise, you can't miss Nara, Japan. But first, it's time to visit one of Japan's most famous landmarks, Fushimi Inari Shrine. These dizzying rows of red torii are a photographer's dream, if you can manage to capture an empty shot. I saw some of the thickest crowds of the whole trip when visiting these shrines, so be sure to give yourself some extra time if you want to focus on photos. To get here, you'll need to take the JR line from Kyoto to Inari. After your time at the shrine, pop back on the train and continue to Nara. Day 5. Remember the history of Hiroshima. I will start by saying that Hiroshima is simply not a beautiful city. It was hastily rebuilt after the tragic events of World War II and the destruction of the atomic bomb. As a result, you won't find charming alleys or old merchant districts. Instead, you come to Hiroshima to get a glimpse into the lives of the people who both died and survived as a result of the bomb and the effects it's had on the community. Day 6. Miyajima, Himeji, and Osaka. This is our crazy day. Start in Hiroshima and take the JR ferry to Miyajima. Spend some time on the island, catch the ferry back, and connect to a train to Himeji. Spend the rest of the day exploring the castle and grounds until it closes. Wind up in Osaka to start binging on street food. I'll start with this preface. If you're not set on exploring Hiroshima by night, I'd encourage you to spend the night on Miyajima instead. This island in Hiroshima Bay is home to one of the top 3 national sites in Japan and is one of the most visited locations in the entire country. Day 7. Take the train to Takayama in the Japan Alps. You read me right, Japan has got its very own range of Alps. It contains 3 mountain ranges, Akashi Mountains, Kiso Mountains, and Haida Mountains. We're going to the latter, to the Haida region. Do not forget to book the wide view train for your ride through the mountains. You'll get a train with enormous glass windows, perfect for daydreaming about your imaginary life in the Japanese countryside, a la my neighbor Totoro. Day 8 day trip to Shirakawa-go. Enjoy breakfast in your ryokan, check out the morning market, and in the early afternoon, hop on a bus to Shirakawa-go. Shirakawa-go is one of the tiny villages where people still live in thatch roof houses. Every 30 to 40 years, the roofs are replaced by 200 community members and volunteers working quickly over 2 days. The town itself is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and you can go inside several of the thatch houses and learn more about life in the village. Day 9. Travel to Aomori in northern Japan. I will start with this. If you're not visiting Harasaki during cherry blossom season, I'm not sure it's worth it. The town itself is pretty lackluster, and it's the park filled with 2,500 cherry blossoms, which makes this location truly spectacular and yet under the radar for Western visitors. That said, Harasaki is probably one of the few places where we felt like we weren't just one of thousands of Western tourists. Almost everyone in the city was either Japanese or traveling to Japan from a neighboring country in Asia. For that reason, it was cool to visit somewhere that felt a little undiscovered by people like us. Day 10. Spend the day at the Harasaki Cherry Blossom Festival. The next day, it's time to enjoy the park in all its bright and blooming glory. The park is overflowing with flowers, idyllic Japanese-style bridges, petal-filled moats, and one of the coolest sights, Sakura Tunnel. I imagine this place also looks spectacular in autumn, but I can only tell you, it's gorgeous in spring and perfect if you're making a late spring trip, where the cherry blossoms and more southerly locations will have already gone. Day 11. Experience beautiful Nikko. I made a critical mistake when coming to Nikko. I came during Golden Week, which happens at the beginning of May. During this time, the entire country of Japan is basically on vacation, and of course, where do they go on vacation? Why? Nikko. And it's no wonder. Nikko was once a favorite retreat for the emperor, once he had moved his residence from Nara to Tokyo. As a result, Nikko has some of the most concentrated famous sites in Japan. A huge swath is a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site. For a small town, this place has got a lot going on. Day 12 and 13. Time for Tokyo. A lot of people who come to Japan spend a lot of time in Tokyo. I mean, it makes sense. It's got the most restaurants per capita in the world, and you could spend a lifetime exploring every conceivable experience this city can offer. That said, I didn't try to do Tokyo hardcore. For one, I visited friends while here, which tends to make everything a little less go-go. On the other hand, there is just so much there. Your chances of making a dent in Tokyo are minuscule, so why try? Day 14. Spend the day at Meiji Fuji and fly home in the evening. It's the last day you can do it. Get up as early as you can muster to see Meiji Fuji in the morning light reflected in Lake Kawaguchi. Conventional wisdom states that your best viewing of Meiji Fuji happens first thing in the morning, but for us, the mountain became more visible as the day went on. By the end of the day, it was clear and big and blue. And that's a wrap. Have you ever been to Japan? Or are you planning a trip right now? Would love to know about anywhere I missed in my itinerary or what you would do differently. Leave a comment with your thoughts.